The family that I'm involved with have been here on the farm since 1976. We bought this place then, and so it involves my father and my 2 other brothers, and so we're running currently 42 hectares of apples. And I've been involved in the apple industry as such, obviously since before my father, so it's the 3rd generation. And part of one of my roles within the industry is I'm one of the directors of APAL, and one of my roles within a part of that organisation is that I chair the R&D committee for HAL in their apples and pears side. I suppose that my first introduction to plant and food was some time ago when it was still called Horticulture. In those days, we're probably back in about the turn of the millennium, I think they use that term these days. And so I think it was first when I personally met Alan White at one of our own conferences here in Australia, and he was discussing with us the breeding program that they had at PFR. I mean, it's not to say that I didn't understand that hort research. You know, I've certainly known about it since the early 90s when I first travelled in New Zealand, but subsequent to that, as I became more involved and part of the industry, I've been a director of APAL for a long time, to have a look around at, you know, what operating environment we're in and how we might improve that for the growers. And plant and food's certainly been at the forefront of that as far as I'm concerned, and certainly some of their leading techniques in the way that they, you know, it's got extremely good research capabilities, very well good personnel, the capabilities that they bring to the table, and the style of work in which they engage with, I think, is one of the things that I remember most about our engagement with plant and food. Probably started certainly subsequent to one of the trips I had overseas. I spent a month in Europe having a look at similar types of organisations throughout Europe. Probably visited 16 research stations and a number of the larger cooperatives and saw how they did their research, you know, over a number of countries. And then we came back to Australia, and I had a thought to go to New Zealand and have a look at plant and food in particular, because we were looking for a suitable research organisation to collaborate with. And we spent some time having a look at plant and food, both up and down the country, and a number of the institutions that they had involved at the time. And it was the culture of the place that really drew me to it, you know, the outcome. That was always what people were focused on, and the culture of it wasn't so silo orientated. So I think that was one of the major, and the capabilities, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Plant and Foods is a very capable organisation, yeah. I think plant and food research has the capabilities to assist the Australian growers in many different ways. I think, as I mentioned earlier, one of the great capabilities of plant and food is their ability to source the right people, and they constantly have that in mind when they're searching for people around the world to work with industries. But to me, it's the culture within the organisation that really comes to the forefront. It's always about deliverable outcomes. You know, that's what people pay for, really. I mean, when we're looking to do research in any particular area, we want outcomes, and the skill level that the people we engage with, they're always important. Sometimes the skill levels are always enhanced by the people that you work with, and the way in which they work with you. A collaborative approach is always the preferred approach from our perspective, I would say. And it's certainly a model that works well for me. The skill levels always change within organisations. Currently, you know, and perhaps for a long time, you know, you've probably led a long way along the genomics and breeding and those kind of skill levels. But the tree architecture skill level's been there for a long time. It's always been an interesting aspect for us here in Australia to see that. And so matching those two skill sets together with a range of other things, you know, we've been involved recently with carbon footprinting for us, and soil work, irrigation work. There's just a wide range of skill sets that we're collaborating with at the moment. I think the opportunities for plant and food research with collaboration in Australia with the pipfruit industries are really good going into the future. I think that there's a range of methods in which we can engage, and one of them that comes to mind rather quickly is that the level of expertise that you have within the organisation. It's really important for us to gain some of that knowledge and upskill our own researchers and research institutes here with some of the collaborative efforts that go on. And together we grow all of those organisations, and the benefits are on both sides. You know, the benefits are there for both New Zealand growers and Australian growers at the same time. The more collaboration we do, I think the better for each of the industries. I mean, in our own case, Australia is such a small player in the world market. Represents 0.6% of world production, and we should remember that, you know, we are a small player. And so collaborative, I think that Australia and New Zealand have formed a relationship that is that is workable into the future for a long time. I see it the other way, yeah.